Hey, this is Justin, Games Guy here at Grand Rapids. I wanted to talk about some two-player games that I think are super rad. Um, Two-player games have a great, it's their time to shine, in my opinion. If you're like me, you only have one other person at home to play with. And I've been getting this question a lot, actually. Yeah, friends and family and also customers have been asking, like, with a lower player count, what do I do? Because normally when you talk about board games, you're thinking about three, four, maybe even five people playing a game around a table. But now that we're reduced in numbers, two-player games are really cool things to try out right now. So I wanted to highlight just a few that I think are just rock solid staples, and then a couple of things that you may not know about yet. So two-player games like Tic-Tac-Toe, Battleship, Connect Four, Stratego, you're probably super familiar with that. We're going to skip them. We're going to do stuff that you don't know. Lost Cities first. Lost Cities is a game that if I know nothing about a person, their personal tastes in games, I'm going to recommend Lost Cities as their entry point into two-player games. Mostly because it feels like a classic card game, like a Gin Rummy or like a anything that where you're building runs, like a Phase 10 or even something similar to that. Except it's a two-player game. You are discarding cards, you're playing out cards into your little runs, and you're drawing cards. And it sounds super simple because it is. It's maybe a 2-minute teach and about a 20-minute game. And it is just this fantastic little tightrope of a game because in order for me to play cards and draw new cards, I need to discard cards. But you may need my discarded cards, which you can take and build your successful runs, which makes me lose the game. So I don't want to discard cards, but I need new cards. And you can kind of see the internal fun, crunchy problem of Lost Cities. I adore this game. It's probably my most recommended two-player game. As for my own personal played two-player game, Patchwork, which is the best game about quilting that you can ever play. Well, it's the best two-player game about quilting that I know of. There are other quilting board games because apparently that's a hot genre right now, is the quilting community. Um, it is this fantastic, like, two-player Tetris sort of esque game where it's a visual placement game. So I am building a tableau of I'm trying to fill in a quilt, a patchwork quilt, as best as possible, and I'll get points at the end of the game for how well filled in my quilt is. And you need those weird like Tetris puzzle pieces to fit in certain ways, but there's only a few of them on the board, and I'm trying to get to the ones that I need before you get to the ones that you need. um, it's got this delightful system of taking turns that I think is just genius, and I could like coo about for a while, but I'm not going to right now because you probably have other interesting things to watch on YouTube. Um, and then Clask. Clask is obviously set out because I am wild about this game right now. Um, I'm not a big dexterity game fan, like a dexterity game like Jenga. Um, I'm not super into them. I am super into Clask. Um, it reminds me of the um, air hockey tables that I love. So you've got these guys; they're magnetic. So you put the magnet down, but you control it from underneath the table, and you're basically trying to bop that little yellow ball into your opponent's goal. If you can do that, you get a point. The magic of the game is the limitations. If I ever goof up and lose my wand, whatever we want to call this, the wand, my opponent gets a point. If I collect two of these little magnety things on my wand, my opponent gets a point. And if I'm a dummy and I land in my own goal, opponent gets a point. So uh, it is fantastic. We picked up a lot of these at Toy Fair, and because I'm absolutely enamored with it, I think it's great. I want you to try it, but obviously you can't. So hopefully this is a good representation of how cool it is. Very, very briefly, these are other two-player games in the line that we carry. We've got Peek and Push, Jaipur, Imhotep, Tarji, and Seven Wonders Duel. These are all solid. Obviously, Peek and Push I'm a little biased towards. But if you want any context about any of these guys, let me know. games@grtoys.com is my email. Same thing goes for all of this stuff. If you want a demo done here on YouTube or wherever this video is going to land, let me know. I can make them, and hopefully it will help you figure out A, if you want to buy this game, or B, if you're setting up the game and you're not quite sure, just let me know if you have any questions. And then super briefly, I've got a stack of games that are 2 to 4 players. So if you got a few more than just 2 people at the house right now, these are games that can go up to 4 players. I just prefer them at 2. It's a total personal preference thing, but it's what it is. Hey, That's My Fish. It is a game about you're a penguin and you're trying to steal the most fish from the board, and every time you steal fish, the board shrinks just a little bit more. So you get these cool sort of tactical movement plans. I really like it. Ticket to Ride New York. Big Ticket to Ride, I do not like as a 2-player game. Ticket to Ride New York, much smaller map. Ooh, it is fantastic playthrough at 2 players. And if you haven't tried Ticket to Ride, this is a really good entry point because this is only $20 while this is like $55 off the top of my head. I would 100% recommend that, especially if you're on the fence about that. And then King Domino is one of my favorite 2-player games, and I have recommended this probably for a birthday party over the last 2 years. I really do think it's a solid starting point for most families in modern board games. Other than that, those are all the 2-player games that I wanted to highlight today. If there's any in our catalog that you want more context of, like I said, feel free to drop me a line. Email me, comment down in the thingy-madoodah, the comment section, whatever. Other than that, have a super day. Bye now.